What if the greatest human failure was not caused by weakness, but by confidence? What if the moment humanity felt most united was also the moment it drifted furthest from God? Imagine a world with one language, one voice, one purpose, yet a world quietly walking toward division. This is not the story of a flood. This is not the story of destruction by water. This is the story of a tower, built by human hands, driven by human pride, and stopped by divine wisdom. This is the story of the Tower of Babel. Welcome to the Bible Wisdom Collective channel, a place where ancient scripture meets timeless truth. Here, we explore the stories of the Bible not only as history, but as wisdom meant to guide our lives today. If you seek deeper understanding, spiritual reflection, and stories that speak to the human heart, you are in the right place. Today, we journey to the book of Genesis, to a brief but powerful story that explains why humanity speaks in many tongues and why unity without God never lasts. The world. After the flood. After the great flood, the world began again. Noah's family spread across the earth. Humanity was given a fresh start, a renewed creation, a covenant sealed with a rainbow, and a promise of mercy. At this time, Scripture tells us something remarkable. The whole world had one language and a common speech. Genesis 11:1. There was no division of words, no misunderstanding of meaning. Human beings could communicate perfectly, and yet, perfect communication did not lead to perfect obedience. The desire to settle. As people migrated eastward, they found a broad plain in the land of Shinar. It was fertile. It was comfortable. It felt safe. So they settled there. This decision may seem harmless, but it carried a hidden danger. God had commanded humanity to fill the earth. Instead, they chose to stay together, to remain in one place, to build a future on their own terms. Comfort replaced trust. Stability replaced obedience. The plan to build the tower. Then came an idea, one that sounded bold, ambitious, even inspiring. Come, let us build ourselves a city with a tower that reaches to the heavens so that we may make a name for ourselves. Genesis 11:4. Notice the language. Let us build. Let us make. Let us make a name for ourselves. God is not mentioned. Not once. This was not a tower built to worship God. It was a monument to human achievement. The tower was not sinful because it was tall. It was sinful because of why it was built. The people wanted security without God, unity without obedience, glory without humility, fear beneath the pride. At the heart of Babel was fear. They feared being scattered. They feared losing control. They feared a future they could not manage. So they tried to secure themselves with bricks, mortar, and ambition. But human-made security can never replace divine protection. The tower was meant to reach heaven, but it revealed something else. How far the human heart had drifted. God comes down. Then Scripture says something deeply ironic. But the Lord came down to see the city and the tower. Genesis 11:5. Humanity tried to reach heaven. God had to come down to see it. This is not mockery. It is revelation. No matter how high human pride rises, it never reaches God. God saw that if humanity continued on this path, nothing would restrain their pride. Not because they were powerful, but because they were united against His will. The confusion of languages. God did not destroy the city. He did not send fire or flood. Instead, He touched language itself. Let us confuse their language so they will not understand each other. Genesis 11:7. Suddenly, words lost their meaning. Commands were misunderstood. Plans fell apart. The same mouths that once spoke in harmony now spoke past one another, and humanity was scattered across the earth. This scattering was not pure punishment. It was restraint. God interrupted human pride to prevent deeper destruction. Why Babel matters. The Tower of Babel explains more than languages. It explains why human unity, when detached from God, inevitably fractures. Babel teaches us that unity without truth becomes control. Progress without humility becomes pride. Security without God becomes fear. God did not confuse language out of cruelty, but out of mercy. He stopped humanity from destroying itself spiritually. Babel, and the human heart Babel, is not just an ancient tower. It lives wherever people say, "We don't need God." We can build our own future. We will define good and evil ourselves. Every age builds its own Babel, sometimes with stone, sometimes with ideas, sometimes with power and technology. The materials change, but the temptation remains, from Babel to Abraham. Immediately after Babel, God changes his approach. Instead of addressing all humanity at once, he calls one man, Abraham. From Babel's pride comes Abraham's faith. From human ambition comes divine promise. Where Babel said, "Let us make a name for ourselves," God says to Abraham, "I will make your name great." This is the turning point of Scripture. The Tower of Babel warns us gently but firmly. It reminds us that God is not against unity. He is against pride. God is not against progress. He is against self-glorification. True unity is born from humility. True greatness begins with obedience. And when God seems to interrupt our plans, it may be because he is protecting our souls. If this story helped you see Scripture with new depth, if it spoke to your heart and your life, we invite you to become part of our growing community. Subscribe to Bible Wisdom Collective. Like this video to support our mission. Share it with someone who loves biblical wisdom and comment below. What lesson from Babel stood out to you most? Your engagement helps this channel bring the wisdom of Scripture to more people around the world. Thank you for watching. May God grant you humility, clarity, and wisdom on your journey of faith. See you in the next story.